Hey friends, how you doing? My name is Steve Guttenberg and I am the Audiophiliac, and today I'm going to tell you some stories about crazy rich Asian audiophiles. When I was selling hi-fi in New York City in the 80s and 90s, I had my share of crazy, and I mean that in a nice way, rich, definitely Asian audiophiles. I remember this one guy came into the store, was looking for a very expensive system. He was really well dressed, definitely a businessman type in his 50s or so. And he picked out some stuff. He comes back the next day with a guy, and then we were at the counter and writing up the sale, and he opens up his valise, a suitcase, and it's filled with stacks of money. It's like looking, like a movie. Like there's just neat piles of cash in this suitcase, and he, counted out whatever it was, $30,000-$40,000, and handed it over to and made the sale. I was like, yes, okay. I mean, that was good. But then I had this other guy who was sort of a regular customer of mine, and he comes in one day and he buys. First time he comes in, and he says he's interested in interconnect cables, and he buys 5 or 6 very expensive 1 meter RCA interconnects. And we write up the sale, and he goes away, and that's it, right? And I think that's all there is to it. He comes back, I don't know, 2-3 weeks later with the same bag, and he's got all of the cables in the bag except one. And he said, I like that one. I think it was a Cardis cable that he liked. And I said, so you want to exchange these cables for another, 5 or whatever it is, other cables of the same type you like? And he said, oh, no. And he just gave them to me. He just handed over this bag to me with $4,000 or $5,000 worth of cables. I said, no, it's okay, you can keep it. That was the best tip I ever got. Like I said, he became a regular, and he used to come by with really attractive women, Japanese models, as I recall. And when he come by, he would sometimes buy them an audio system. I mean, like a $10,000 audio system. And one time he came by without any women, and I said, what's up? And he said, oh, when I go to her house, I just want to have a nice system to listen to. And, she's got a crappy system, so I thought I'd buy her a system. Like, oh, okay. And he did this more than once, maybe 2 or 3 times. And I was like, pretty good. So then, I'm flipping back and forth in time. I would go to his house sometimes. He'd take me out to dinner. We were friends, right? And he comes to I go to his house, and he says to me, listen to my system, tell me what you think. And when he asked me that, he meant really, not just say it was great. So I listened to his system, and I said, which was Wilson Watt puppies of some vintage, a Cat preamp, a Spectral power amp, that kind of stuff. So he said, listen and tell me what you think. So I listened. I said, yeah, it sounds good. It just seems a little, like leading edge just seems kind of soft, for me. I'm not sure, where that's coming from. Maybe it's the Cat preamp. And he said, oh, okay. And then I go back 3-4 weeks later, and I listen. Everything looks exactly the same. And I listen. I said, no, it's way better. There's more leading edge. It's more transparent. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, what did you do? And he said, get on the floor and look underneath the stand that's supporting the power amplifier. So there's a short equipment stand, maybe 10 inches high. So get on the floor, look up underneath the stand. So, okay. So I get on the floor, look up, and I see in the corners where, the platform of the shelf, let's say, of the stand, there are these large ball bearings. It's like, that's really cool. And he says, like, okay, so now you get up and just push on the amplifier. And the amplifier just sort of floated, it was rolling on these ball bearings. And, other companies started to sell products that sort of did this same thing. I think they're roller blocks or something, had the same concept where you put a component, an amplifier, a CD player on a thing, and it's just kind of, it's free to move. And as I recall, the logic of this was that the 60-cycle power transformer in there has this energy, and it's vibrating at 60 cycles a second. And if it's just sitting on feet, firmly attached to the floor or the shelf, it's just sort of, the energy is locked, let's say, inside that chassis. But if it's on these roller blocks or balls that are floating, it can dissipate that energy. That was the logic of it, whether it's snake oil or whatever, there was a difference. And I mimicked that at home without large stainless steel balls, but with marbles and other things. And it was really cool. It's just not convenient to have your equipment floating around and moving, and it falls off, and it's a hassle. But it was a really cool idea, and it was one of those kind of like Japanese tweaky things. It was big in Japan. He also showed me the inside of his preamp. This, I think, was a Cat preamp. And he took the preamp to Japan, and he had somebody disassemble it and then wrapped every capacitor, I think every resistor, in this black cloth. So when you look inside, you just see all these black parts. And they were basically sort of like damping materials for the parts inside. So yes, I knew many very wealthy. One of the funniest ones, and he was definitely not Japanese, but there was this guy came in and he bought some, like, I don't know, skinny floor standing speakers, and he came many times before he decided what he wanted. But when he figured it out, he would hit the top of the speaker and he would say, "Best speaker," like keep slapping the speaker and saying, "Best speaker, best speaker." He was very excited, like this is it. He found his nirvana, and it was in this speaker, and he therefore proclaimed it the best speaker, for him at least, right? Best speaker. I wish I could tell you what it was, but it may have been like I don't know, Proac, I don't remember, but a skinny floor standing speaker. Not that Proac made many floor standing speakers, but each to their own. And that's the thing about working in a store for a long time. You meet all sorts of very strong personalities, really interesting people, and I really enjoyed them. I really did. For the most part. There were annoying people in that mix too, but mostly quirky but nice people who had a passion which they and I shared. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this exciting chapter of the Audiophiliac Daily Show, which comes up, as they say, daily. So come back often, see what's up. You're not going to like every one. Of course not. How could that be? But you're going to like a lot of them. So keep coming back, see what's new, and I'll see you next time.